I feel bad for?
No.
Your mom.
Why?
Because you're about to be there for 5 weeks.
It's like, yeah.
The funniest thing is I said, does your mom know this? Does your mom know that? You said, I've lived with her before. She knows what to expect.
Yeah.
She knows what to expect. It's like you have you expect to make no efforts to make it easier on the person that you're staying with.
Listen.
She knows what to expect.
My parents divorced when I was young.
Uh-huh.
So she missed out on getting to take care of me. So it's a gift. I'm giving her the gift of taking care of me. That's not a gift.
It's punishment.
It's a curse.
It's almost like revenge. This is for not being around during my childhood. I'm gonna brad all over you.
Dude, I love my mom. My mom loves me. We're gonna spend some time together, and she's gonna worry about how miserable I am. And I'm gonna have to pretend not to be as miserable as I am, which is gonna be difficult. It might be the hardest thing I've ever done.
You're gonna leave Ohio and you're like, did a pretty good job of pretending not to be miserable. I succeeded! And then you're gonna go back to...
Shut the fuck up. Get out of my way. Leave me alone. Those are the thoughts in my head constantly.
You're gonna get back home and feel like, I can finally let my hair down and be miserable again. You're gonna bring it all out on me. I didn't have anything to do with this.
That's your...
It's like you're gonna punish me for being happy that you're gone for 4 or 5 weeks.
It's your cross to bear.
Yeah.
I am your cross.
Yeah. Most people get something out of that.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Movieisms.
most people, when they have a cross to bear, it's like they're rewarded somehow afterwards.
This is the Jolly Christmas episode. Jolly, jolly, happy, happy, joy, joy.
Brad's so jovial.
Yeah, that's my word of the year. 99, or it's not 99. Where the hell am I? It's fucking 19. I'm sick, folks. Not that you could tell the difference. I am not, my brain is never functioning.
Are you talking about 1999?
For a second, I flashed to 99. The 90s is my jam. I mean, that's where all the great shit happened. Matrix in 99. The greatest movie of all time.
Ugh.
I mean, most of our classics were in the 90s. Forrest Gump, Magnolia. I think all in the same year. It was like Magnolia and Matrix and...
Well, Forrest Gump and Magnolia came out at different times, but there are classics from the...
I just remember...
There are classics from every decade.
Right, but 99 was just amazing.
Because of one movie?
No, there's like 10 of our favorite movies that we talk about all the time. I mean, that year...
List them.
I have to go and find the list, and we don't want to wait for that.
No. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Movieisms. I'm Becca Meyer.
I'm leaving. I'm Bradley Kingston, and I'm going to Ohio. I was just looking at my boarding pass, because I'm leaving in a few hours.
You're leaving in like 3 hours, yeah.
And I'm a wreck.
You know, you could be feeling sick because of the extra effort you're having to put forward just to move away for 5 weeks.
I've considered that some of this might be like anxious, mild panic attack.
Right,
I'm just sick because I don't know why.
Yeah, because you don't function well with change. Like today we were at a place and there was one of those little touchscreen kiosks that you're supposed to use. and it flustered you because you didn't know where you were supposed to pay.
I just shouted instructions at the lady standing there.
You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to use the touchscreen kiosk now.
Well, my way worked. I put the card in.
Right, because they're like, oh, I guess this guy thinks he's making an order here. Okay.
Yeah. That's how things used to work. I'm not refusing progress. It's just, and I'm not like the old person that doesn't understand technology. I'm right there with everyone else. But
Brad, a month ago, you said to me, oh, is this one of those things where you have to insert the card instead of swiping it? They're all like that now, but your reaction to it was, this, like
80% of the time I have to do the chip. But every once in a while, they're like, no, that doesn't work, or we don't do that here.
Every once in a while. We don't do that here.
Yeah.
Yeah, every once in a while. But you're like, what am I supposed to do? Just insert the card. If it doesn't work, they'll tell you.
You know, sometimes they tape that up, because people just assume, put the card in, so they have to tape it up. But stop doing it. So I like to figure out which one.
No, you were flustered.
I wasn't flustered. My brain wasn't working.
Oh, can you remember a time?
That's flustered.
Can you remember a time when your brain was working? Because you say my brain isn't working about 1,000 times a day. My work. I hear you.
I will say that whenever I need get something to eat, is probably a time that my brain is not working. Yes.
But you eat like 15 times a day.
I do not.
Yes, you do.
As often as I eat, they're small meals.
Right, but still.
Yeah.
Are you going to sit there like that the whole time?
I have to maintain blood sugar.
Yeah.
I'm getting more miserable talking about how miserable I am.
I'm getting more miserable.
Moving on.
I'm getting more... You know what I'm waiting for? This is like my Christmas Eve right now. I get to drop you off at the airport.
Oh.
I'm like so giddy. I'm like, can we open the present now? Can we take him now? Can we open a present? One present tonight, please? Is Santa Claus real?
If he was, I'd be one of his lost elves.
You're like the garden gnome from South Pole.
The gnomes are from the South Pole?
No, you'll be like the garden gnome in the South Pole.
Okay. I don't think that fits.
You look like a garden gnome. That's all I'm saying.
I really don't think so. They all have white beards.
Dude.
And red pointy hats.
Well, just because you don't have a red pointy hat doesn't mean you don't slightly resemble a garden gnome. None of them have mustaches. You have to shave your mustache off, and then you'll have like the gnome beard.
They're Amish. Are we going to do two movies? Because we had one disappointing one. Is it good to have one that we liked and one that we didn't?
It would be better if we had two that we liked.
Really?
Yes.
I think it's more.
Because I only want to... I have high hopes when I go into a movie theater. I want to like the movie. I want to like it.
But I think it's more entertaining when we hate a movie.
I don't know, because I didn't hate... Well, okay.
We didn't hate it.
The first movie we saw was Into the Spiderverse by Sony and Marvel.
Is that the whole title?
It's Into the Spiderverse.
That's an annoying title, but okay.
And then we also saw The Mule. You'll know in 15 seconds which one we liked and which one we didn't like. What do you think about Into the Spider-Verse?
I enjoyed it. It was fun. I think it's the funniest and most fun Spider-Man movie you'll ever see. It's very...
Maybe not ever. I mean, they could come up with something funnier.
Since all the Spider-Man movies came out, this is the funniest one.
So, this is a cartoon. Well, I call it a cartoon. It's an animated film.
Old man.
Yeah. It is a cartoon.
It's 3D animation.
Yeah, CGI. It's a cartoon. And you would know what a cartoon is.
There's so many things wrong with what you're saying, but I'm gonna let it slide.
For those of you listening, I walked out this morning and he's sitting there watching. This is a grown ass man. What are you? 41? 40?
I think I'm 42.
Don't
It's confusing because my birthday's in December.
So?
So it's like I gotta wait the whole year to age.
No, you don't.
Year.
You age. Everybody has to
December.
wait. Everybody has to wait a whole year to age.
So it's like the whole year. No, I'm saying like there's the new year, and then like I keep thinking I'm a different number than I am, and then oh yeah, it's December. Never mind. I'm not making any sense.
So how old are you?
It just throws me off because December is the last month of the year.
Who cares? August is the 8th month of the year. I still know how old I am.
I don't know.
So how old are you?
I looked on Facebook. Told me I'm 42. I think, unless I was 42 before December 9th, and then so I might be 43. Look, you do the math. I was 1976, December 76.
Right. So you're 40. You should be 42. Right?
Supposedly.
Anyway, you're 3 years younger than me.
But see why? That's why it's confusing. Anyway, never mind.
So anyway, however old you are, 42 or 43, you're still watching Disney XD cartoons.
Yeah.
On Saturday morning.
Big Hero 6, the animated series. Big Hero 6 was an awesome movie.
Yes. But no, who's watching the cartoon? That Disney XD is for 12-year-old boys. So, it's a cartoon.
That's what started this.
An animated film.
Respect.
Okay, so it's animated film. Okay, great. Which, by the way, is what they call cartoons.
Do you consider claymation cartoons?
No, I consider it animation.
Okay, so just call it animation. But anyways, go ahead. Whatever. Cartoon.
So we'd seen the trailer numerous times. I thought, when I first saw the trailer to Into the Spiderverse, I sort of thought, I don't know, it's a cartoon. Maybe they might be playing to younger audience, like kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't think much of it. But then at the end of some movie, they played like a clip from Spider-Man at the end of the credits. I can't remember what it was. And it was like a 2-minute section of the movie. And we laughed the whole time. It was very funny. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly funny and entertaining. And it didn't seem like... You know how things try to be funny and they're not?
Right.
This was just funny. It was just funny. It wasn't.
You know why though? It's because it was filled with characters. So this had a rich variety of different personalities and took completely different characters that just some were do-gooders and didn't care, or they acted like they didn't care and were lazy, or going for a path of least resistance, but ultimately would show up and do what needed to be done. And others were cool. Others were unsure of themselves and had to get confident. It was great.
So it's very well written. It very much plays into the whole, everyone knows the Spider-Man origin story, but so with every Spider-Man or Spider-Person that we meet, they go, okay, one last time, we're going to go from the beginning.
They sort of, in a joking way, they said, okay, now here's the real beginning, and then like, what's almost funny is that they kept doing rebooting an origin story each time the new Spider-Man came in, which is kind of like how we feel with Spider-Man movies
with because the Sony Spider-Man.
Yeah, because they would reboot it every 2 movies. We're rebooting Spider-Man. We're rebooting, and we got to tell the origin story again and again.
That's why Marvel got Spider-Man from Sony. Got permission to use their own property back in the Marvel movies again, because Sony wouldn't stop rebooting. So Marvel was like, well, okay, let us do it because we're going to do it right. But Sony kept wanting to reboot it every time something didn't work. Let's just start over again. It's the same thing with like The Grinch. It's like it became less and less interesting to see because it was the same thing, just redone a little bit.
Right.
And
but dude, Nicolas Cage as Noir Spider-Man. That was awesome.
It was funny.
At first, I was like, I don't know. Mike hates Nicolas Cage.
I don't hate Nicolas Cage.
But
I don't hate Nicolas Cage. I don't care for the movies.
What was funny is he was. It was like he was trying too hard with the moody stuff. But that's what was funny.
Yeah.
Is even in his dialogue when he was. He caught himself trying to be too moody, and then it didn't quite work or follow through. And in the scene, and he recognized it and just gave up on the moodiness, and then they cut to the next Spider-Man.
Yeah. So
Peter Porker. What did they say? Was it Spider-Ham?
Spider-Ham.
Yeah. So there are a lot of
Do animals talk in this dimension? Because I'm afraid I'm gonna weird him out or freak him out. You know.
So yeah, there are a lot. I've seen 3 different iterations, I think is the word, of this storyline, a Spider-Verse storyline. So they had a lot of the Spider-Men / women that they've used before. But they did have a couple new ones that I've never seen, either in video game or the cartoons. I'm not an expert on the comic book. But the robot one, the little girl with the robot, never seen that.
Yeah. The Japanese girl that had a special relationship with the robot.
Was there a spider?
There was a spider in the robot, and she had a special relationship with the robot. It was weird. It was like a anime.
It's weird.
Anime rehab.
Right.
It was like an anime parallel universe.
Yeah, and the pig was like from the Bugs Bunny universe, sort of.
I have no idea.
There were different animation styles used on the different Spider-Man.
So that was cool, and it was actually funny that they were able to poke fun of the fact that they were going to do her origin, like they were rebooting the origin story inside the Spider-Man movie over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And
so here's the real story.
Yeah, and it was they did it in a funny way. It was I'm gonna say shot. It's not shot, but it's like the way it's drawn and edited together and cut was very fast paced, but not choppy. And some of the animation style I really liked, but I like what they kept throwing up. Like when I don't know what they're called when you're reading a comic book, you have the little handwritten thoughts.
Right.
That pop up.
I did like that.
They would pop up and you could hear they would pop up and like in little comic book frames. Right. And they would have split screens that would split like a comic book frame.
But he would speak it, you would hear his inner thoughts, but they would throw it up in the little thought bubbles.
And it really, a lot of it reminded me of Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah, it did have that style.
It was visually interesting like that. You'd see like Scott Pilgrim versus the World did a very good job of seeming like a comic book because it was based on a graphic novel, whatever. But this Spider-Verse did a real good job of being fast-paced, entertaining, and funny, but also sincere. Like at times, you felt for the main character, Miles Morales.
That's what was great about. Well, not only was it good writing, but each character, each person, voice actor, delivered the lines in what seemed like a natural way to the character. It wasn't like you were saying, it didn't seem forced, like they were forcing jokes. It seemed like, that's what the character would say or what he would do, and it just was funny. It wasn't trying to be funny. Even
though there's multiple spider entities, they were none of them the same. They all had their own little thing. Like the Gwen Stacy spider woman person, whatever.
Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen, yeah. She had her own thing and her own look and her own origin story that was not they all involved some sort of radioactive spider, but the parallel universe thing made things slightly different in each one.
Did you notice how the one Spider-Man / woman that had it all together was Spider-Gwen? Spider-Gwen was better than all the other Spider-Men.
Yeah.
She had it all together. Not only did she have the brains, but the acrobatics and the skill to pull everything off. Like, the guys are half-assing it and, somehow...
Still confused.
Right, but just fumbling their way through it sometimes. But she would come in and just set things right. It's sort of like, I'm just making a comment on the times we're in, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Where we have strong women.
Yeah, the spider-gwen.
Yeah, I've loved for a long time. Like, even when I played video games, I would always pick the female character because I've been sick and tired of the same old, guy hero, white guy hero.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see. That's the great thing about this particular movie is diversity. There's great diversity in the movie.
And since it's since the main universe we are in is a parallel universe to the Marvel Spider-Man universe, it is not about Peter Parker. It's about Miles Morales. So things are slightly different inside that universe. So what's cool is you're watching something that seems familiar but is different. Like the way Aunt May comes into the story. That's all I'll say about that. And the way Gwen Stacy is there. And the way that Peter Parker does also exist. But the Peter Parker we get in this movie is sort of an old, sort of a washed up, been famous for too long, and it went to his head version of Spider-Man, and now he's divorced and kind of fat. Yeah, and out of shape and not really up for it anymore. He's just kind of going through the motions. He says things, and the thing is like, "This is typical Spider-Man stuff. You'll catch up." Then like 5 seconds later, he's like, "No, this is really bad. This is some real stuff." Yeah, never mind. I was wrong. He's right. Yeah. So right, which is funny, and it's played by the guy from why can't I think of his name now? The guy from...
New Girl?
Yeah, New Girl, Jake Johnson. So, Jake Johnson, I recognized the voice in the trailers, but I never was... Who is it?
It was hard to place.
But he's so funny in the movie, just his voice, and his voice is funny. And it really adds to the sarcasm of that older Peter Parker, which is funny.
By the way, I just realized... and I didn't see it in the movie, there's scenes in the trailer that weren't in the movie, like where he's explaining with the fries about this really strong fry, this is my universe, and this fumbly, weird fry that nobody wants, that's your universe. Yeah. That wasn't in the movie.
The arrogant. It's like Peter Parker is supposed to be nerdy, unsure of himself, geeky,
Yeah.
Maybe wise Alec a little bit, but this guy is like, no, he's like the Jake Johnson Spider-Man. It has gone to his head,
Yeah, and he believes over
the hype.
it.
He believes the hype.
Yeah, because the younger Spider-Man is the having too much fun.
Yeah,
like everyone keeps always having a quip or something clever to say, and the one thing that he did do. The older Spider-Man, which is like the younger version of himself, is he's like, "What you guys are? What did I do something to piss you off? What do you do? What's up? Can we talk this over?" Yeah, he's not serious, but at the same time, he sort of is thinking that.
What I never understand about Spider-Man is that I understand that his hands will hold on to things.
Yeah.
But he's always wearing shoes. Why is it that his feet can...
Yeah. I think he just got really thin.
Yeah, but Miles Morales, when he starts to realize he's Spider-Man, he's wearing Nikes. He's wearing sneakers.
Yeah, so whatever you call them, I don't want to call them needles, but the little tiny spider claws that's supposed to come out of your skin to grab onto things. What are they, like poking through the rubber soles? Yeah. I know. I had the exact same thought when he's running across the side of the building, but I've always had that issue, so I've had I've had to suspend that in order to enjoy a Spider-Man movie.
I get the hands, and he even when he's wearing gloves, it's still thin material, and I get it.
Here's the other thing, like in Spider-Man Home, or what was it, Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man said to Captain America, your shield violates the laws of physics. Yeah. Okay, the Spider-Man, the webs violate laws of physics. Because, by the way, the webs are very convenient. They only stick to things that he wants them to stick to. Like, people get caught up in the webbing, but, like, somehow their clothes don't stick to it or, like, rip off.
Unless he wants them to.
Yeah, it's just... Anyway, not everything is completely perfectly logical, but you just enjoy it. You know that he swings and shoots webs.
And in any superhero movie, there's always something weird.
Right.
So it's not this movie particularly.
If you nitpick the science, yes, you can.
But visually, it's stunning. It's very cool in places. I remember that the scene where he's falling. Where he's just doing Spider-Man and it's in the trailer where he's falling down, but it's in slow motion and but he's upside down. Mm-hmm. But the city is right side up. It's very cool looking.
Yeah.
And I did love the art design of it. I love the way it looked.
Yeah, that was my problem.
I know you didn't like the way the digital art, so it was almost sort of pixely.
Well, I grew to be okay with the dots, the comic book dots. But what I couldn't get over through the whole thing, which I knew I wasn't going to like because it was in the trailers, is I don't want to call it the frame rate, but like the animation frame rate. Not the 30 frames per second, but the...
24, but...
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, when you're doing 3D, they sometimes do 60 frames per second and export it to 24. But it was still jittery, and I know they did it on purpose. Like whenever you watch claymation movies, if they haven't digitally enhanced it, you get these cuts, jump cut looking movements. So there was a lot of that in this, and I'm glad we didn't watch it in 3D because that's my biggest complaint in 3D.
I wouldn't call it jittery. I would call it almost like the shutter speed. When you're talking about video, if you have the shutter speed cranked up,
right?
It makes it more. Well, jittery is the word, but you know what I mean. When you're talking about video and the frame rate, the shutter speed gets flipped up so it's like when they're shooting sports, it's very like high shutter speed so that things don't get out of focus.
Yeah. So I wasn't a fan of that, but the biggest thing that bugged me was the red and blue separation. A lot of the stuff in the background it was tricking my brain. It seemed like I was watching 3D without 3D glasses because the red and blue separation.
There were parts where the red, blue, and green stuff were stacked on top of each other, but it was a creative choice. It was a visual, it was an artistic choice. I liked it. I thought it was cool, but it was distracting because I would find myself sitting there looking at it, trying to figure out how it would explain it, how you would explain that to somebody.
I'm glad we didn't see it in 3D because I think it would have bugged me even more. All of those issues.
Anyway, it's highly entertaining. It was laughing. The whole audience was laughing. It wasn't just you and me sitting in there. The room was pretty full of people that were laughing.
You seem to really enjoy the. I don't want to call the typical when you first become a hero. The learning curve, of learning your powers, you had a good time with that. Where his hands got stuck to everything.
Yeah, his hands got stuck to everything,
and he got stuck to some birds, and he's on the side of. You were laughing at things I didn't think you would laugh at, like stuff that you do for kids, like head getting smushed on the window and then slowly smearing.
That's funny.
The whole thing where
when it's done well with sound and pictures and stuff, when it's done well and the timing is good.
Where the Peter Parker Spider-Man got knocked out, and Miles Morales can't control his stickiness, and he's like web attached to Peter Parker, but he's unconscious. So they end up like flying around the city because he accidentally shoots the web onto the subway train.
Yeah.
And
the guy says, "Seems like there's a teenager
Spider-Man dragging along."
No, a teenager dressed like Spider-Man dragging along a homeless man behind a train.
I thought he said a homeless corpse.
That's exactly what he said. There's a teenager dressed like Spider-Man pulling a homeless corpse behind a train. It's just the way referring to him as a homeless corpse made me laugh. Yeah. Why does it have to be a homeless corpse?
I mean, he did look the part. So yeah, there are a lot of very
it's
funny,
a lot of funny stuff. It's very like the
things.
way the words are connected to each other.
Yeah.
The tone of voice or the personality of the thing was very funny. It had funny parts.
By the way, in regards to characters, it seemed like a happy world. Like it seemed most of the characters were happy,
Chipper,
sanguine.
Sanguine's, yeah. The dad was, the mom was, Miles Morales was. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
No, it was just I would categorize it as a happy movie because it was like Happy World, and it was all about how everyone felt in their relationships
and should do the right thing.
Right.
Yeah. What's wrong with that, Brad?
Yeah. By the way, Kingpin wasn't exactly.
I don't know
how he should have been.
I don't know Kingpin as a character, but I like the way he was drawn, where his head was in the middle of his body and the shoulders were like a lot of his height come from his head's like
tiny head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of his torso, which was funny to look at.
Yeah. But he's usually more of a pedagogue, like I'm in control and I know I have everything planned out and all of that.
What was he in here?
He seemed more like I want to say a grumpy or a warrior, a cleric. Yeah. He was more reactive and emotional. Like his whole thing in the movie was about getting his family back. Yeah. I mean, that's why he broke the universes, because he's trying to get his family back.
Yeah. The visual when the universes started to collide together, the scrambled jitteriness that comes out of like two things trying to coexist in one thing. It reminded me a little, now that I'm thinking about it, reminded me of, if you remember Fringe, when they had the parallel universes crossing over.
I loved Fringe.
I loved Fringe until like the last season.
Yeah, it went weird.
Yeah. It didn't even go weird, it just went bad. But the jitteriness where it's like scrambled, everything was scrambled for a second, and I thought that was very cool looking. It's a good movie, man. I was surprised I liked it as much as I did.
Yeah. For anyone who's a Spider-Man nerd or fan, I just want to say that this version of the Spider-Verse is not connected to any of the previous Spider-Verse movies.
It's a Sony film.
Right. It's the reason that the Spider-Verse is broken and that all the spider people come together is nothing like the stories in the past. So don't expect it to like connect to future or to branch out into other things. I believe this is just a singular Oh, by the way,
probably do a sequel. They'll probably do a sequel.
You've got. I hope so. I hope they do more stories with Miles. But man, you got to stay for the end. Do you have to stay all the way to the end?
It was after the credits rolled all the way to the
very
end.
Yeah. Oh my God! It is so awesome.
Yeah.
They do. I don't even want to hint.
Don't.
Just stay to the end.
Yeah.
It is so worth it.
Yeah. It was funny.
Yeah. I kind of want to tease it.
You're teasing it by...
I know, but I want to let them know. You'll see it. But man, some of my favorite things that I saw on YouTube like years ago that making fun of old Super Friends and stuff. Oh God, that was so funny.
So that's Into the Spiderverse. We really liked it, even though Brad didn't like.
I don't like the way you're pointing at me. Well, you're pointing at me. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Into the Spiderverse, which was surprisingly good, surprisingly entertained, all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, and it's a fun movie. It's just
It seemed like everyone was having a good time making it, because that's how it came across.
That's how it felt. Had a good time making it. And I want to know why Sony can do that, but they can't do a Spider-Man movie. Why can they do that so well? And is it because it's a different medium and they're just not taking themselves so seriously because it is a air quotes cartoon?
Maybe they let the let loose the reins or whatever they did.
Maybe
They let the creative control loose so that they could be a better.
I'm really glad we have Spider-Man in the Marvel thing with the Avengers and all that stuff. I'm glad we have it there, but it just says that if they would have done this with Spider-Man in the past, they never would have had to do that. We'd have Spider-Man movies that we could like.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, but they were just like, why? And I was complaining, why are we redoing the same thing over and over and over again?
Yeah, they did get better. They got a little bit better each time they rebooted it, but it was still...
Yeah. Anyway, so that's it. Go see it. Enjoy it. It's good for the good holiday movie. It's good for kids. You know, it's safe for your kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's safe for your kids, but it's also highly entertaining, too. Especially someone who likes superhero movies. You're going to love it.
Yeah, and even if you have the superhero fatigue, this is one of those great movies that
doesn't.
It's almost like a Deadpool in a way, like a PG Deadpool, because everyone seems more aware than they should be and are making jokes that... at one point, I don't know if I said it to you or if I thought it, it is like Deadpool, but a cartoon, like an animated movie. It's like Deadpool. Everyone's in on the joke.
Because they have wise-ass jokes.
Yeah.
And the older Peter Parker is such a smartass, you know, in the way that Deadpool is. And it made me think that Jake Johnson, if they ever did, Jake Johnson could have made a good Deadpool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he could have made a good Deadpool. I know that's sacrilegious to suggest anyone other than, Ryan Reynolds, because he's perfect. It's almost as if it was just for him.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that's Into the Spiderverse. Next movie we saw was called The Mule.
The Mule.
Which was as slow paced as you might think a mule. Yeah.
That's my old grizzled man.
So this is Clint Eastwood's version of what if an old guy was in over his head with the Mexican drug cartels. That's it. The end. It's mostly what it is. It
sort of reminded me if the guy from Gran Torino got real desperate for money.
Yeah. Right, except Gran Torino was a good movie.
Yeah.
So this movie, in the first 30 seconds, I started to get like a weird feeling that the acting wasn't all that great, the dialogue wasn't.
Well, and then he wrote, directed, and starred in it, right?
He didn't write it. Somebody else wrote it. Somebody else wrote it. So he was directing himself. So maybe which he's done for years. He's done that. I mean,
God, I'm the last one to want to pick on people for being old, but as old as he is, like he's got to act it out and then go watch his performance and then. So, yeah, I'm not surprised the acting wasn't great.
So the acting...
Because, look, as tired and old as... You know how I am.
Yeah.
And I'm not even close to his age. It's like, once we get a good take, we're done.
Well, on the inside, you're as
It's
old
like,
as he is.
that's all you're getting out of me.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like maybe he did a couple takes, got tired... And because he's directing, he's like, let's move on.
For me, it wasn't even the directing or the acting. It was the script. The script itself was written. It could have been a TV movie or a straight to Netflix indie film, and it would have been the same. It wasn't.
Oh, by the way, that was the biggest disappointment. We at the end of the movie, we talked about the stars that were in it, and said. That could have been anyone playing the role, because I said, why was Lawrence Fishbourne in this movie? Because he didn't do or say anything memorable, and you could have had anyone playing that role. It was... No one brought anything to the table, it didn't seem like.
It was... every character was sort of the stereotypical version of that character in that movie. There was no depth to any of the characters. There was no thought put into their motivations. There's only really one scene that I really, really liked, and it was about 3/4 of the way through the movie, where Clint Eastwood's character is talking to Bradley Cooper's character, very much like that scene between Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in Heat, where they're just sitting, and they don't know who they're talking to. Well, Clint Eastwood knows who he's talking to, but Bradley Cooper doesn't quite know who Clint Eastwood is yet. But the scene they have together is really well done. So it's not that they can't pull it off, it's that the script was just very, very thin. There was no beat in this script from beginning to end, except for that, I will say, 1 or 2 different scenes that was anything that you could paint by numbers. The script was paint by numbers. This is the same where this is supposed to happen, so this happens.
Also, they didn't set up the main character correctly, I don't think, because I feel like it was halfway into the movie before I sort of felt for the character. Because up until then, we were just laughing at how grizzled and grumpy he was the whole time.
I love the grumpy old man Clint Eastwood character.
Yeah.
But I personally think the grumpy old man Clint Eastwood character, when it comes out in this movie, it's the most entertaining part of the movie, but it's misplaced because the character he's playing is not like that. He just says cranky old man things to get a joke.
Yeah.
You
know what I kept thinking through the whole movie is I kept seeing myself in his character. I mean, the way he walked and shuffled his feet, like every movement.
Like you're afraid his next step is going to be his last.
Yeah. I was looking at that thinking, he's 90?
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm 40-something.
I actually don't know if Clint Eastwood is 90, but he's playing a 90-year-old guy.
But dude, if I'm already there and that he's 90, what am I going to be? I'm not going to be alive at 90. If I am, then I'll be like a torso attached to an electric rolling machine or something. Like my head and spinal cord will be attached to a scooter. You know what I'm saying? My body's going to fall apart by then. I won't work anymore.
He's 88 years old.
I will speak in grunts.
Hold on. He was born in 1930. I just looked it up.
Holy
And it's
criminy.
2019. So that's 70 years. He is 90.
Yeah.
It's impressive. Now I want to change my review. It's impressive that a 90-year-old is still making movies. Do you realize how cool that is?
But also, can this be his last one, please? It's literally going downhill from here.
He is still funny in the movie, and he still does things that are Clint Eastwood like, but the script was not right. The script was. I like the idea. In fact, when we saw the trailer, I kept saying to you, the only reason worth seeing that movie is because it's Clint Eastwood in that character.
You just love the faces he was making.
He makes great. There's no way to fake those faces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just 90 years on his face. You know what I mean? That's just 90 years of his face just being twisted into, old age. You know what I mean? There's so much interesting stuff to look at on his face. In a very interesting.
No woman ever wants to hear that. Well, there's just so much stuff to look at on your face.
But it was weak. The script was weak, and the script was weak, which made the rest of the movie weak. It had
characters were weak.
It had great character. I mean, it had great actors in it that were not utilized in any way.
They were TV show characters.
Yeah.
Not act. I mean, they were great actors in it, but the
characters
weren't necessarily able to do their best because they didn't have good stuff to work with.
Andy Garcia is great in the movie.
He was a highlight, I thought. I liked his
fun
character.
to watch. He's fun to watch,
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper is generally fun to watch, but the character is so cookie cutter that there's nothing interesting about the character. You know what I mean? There's nothing interesting about him at all.
Every scene in there is like, I don't want to use the word copy and paste again because I used it earlier, but that's what it seemed like in this movie. It was a lot of copy and paste from this TV show or this movie.
Every scene with Bradley Cooper and Michael Pena, who is generally fun to watch as well, but also pretty boring in this movie, was the same. It's the two cops sitting in the car going, well, is this the guy? No, that's not the guy. What do you think about this? It's very boring procedural. It's not a very well-conceived, like, twisting, turning mystery for them to spend so much time sitting in a car talking about if they have the right guy.
It would have been better if we stayed with certain characters while things were going on, as opposed to informing us, this is what the FBI is doing now, this is what the bad guys are doing now. If we just, like, stayed with Clint Eastwood, I guess, maybe the whole time, and just saw him complaining and be grumpy, and, you know, that would have been better.
There's also, you were complaining that the scenes with Lawrence Fishbourne, who was like the director of the DEA or something, he was one of those guys. Every scene was, well, what's going on? And they'll say, well, so-and-so and this and that. And he's like, but we need to get some arrests. And they're like, we will get some. Okay, go back out there and try again.
And then they did the same scene
thing,
two more times.
Three times. And 3 times in this movie, they have the same scene. It's just in a, you know.
My boss is up my ass. We got to get some arrests now. Okay, we'll go get some arrests.
We're working on it. Just give us a few more days.
Useless scenes. And a waste of Lawrence Fishbourne.
Yeah, it's a waste of everybody in the movie.
But I guess he's old too. Maybe he needed the paycheck.
Well, but think about it. Here's another thing. There were a couple of spots in the movie where Clint Eastwood's character said incredibly racist things.
Really out of place.
For no reason.
Yeah, like he didn't say them anywhere else. Like it wasn't a part of his character.
Yeah.
It was just in there. It seemed like it was in the writing so that we could get the point that, oh, okay, he's inappropriate.
There's an inappropriate old man. But the thing is, from the very beginning, the first scene you see with him, he's a florist who somehow ends up becoming a drug runner for the cartel. But he's got like 3 or 4 Mexican guys working with him, helping him like do his planting and the flowers and everything. He's speaking Spanish with them. He's cool with them. He's down to earth with them.
He's never racist.
But then randomly he starts saying racist things to people.
But like
2 or 3
once,
other spots
just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Once. It's not like a constant thing, or it's not like a part of his character. It's like
it's out of his character.
Right.
It's totally out of his character when he does it.
So
it's unnecessary.
I think that's bad writing because it was just out of place.
I don't know what point they were trying to make by making him say racist things.
I think they were going for the stereotypical that, you know, all of our
from another time
parents are racist. They're not intentional racist. That's just how they grew up.
But
sort of
that wouldn't be a point if they had built towards something with it. Instead of it just being random. Like when he said it, it's like, what?
Huh?
And then it went away and never turned into anything.
It was unexpected because that's not how his character was. Yeah.
So there's a couple of complaints.
Couple?
I mean, we said one good thing about it. I like the scene between Bradley Cooper and Clint Eastwood.
And his face.
And even at the end when the two of them had a scene together, they were good together. Every time they were on camera together, I thought.
Yeah. It seemed like everybody... everyone else just wanted an excuse to yell at each other. It seemed like a lot of forced conflict where, okay, these two characters in this scene, they don't like each other, start yelling.
Yeah.
No.
And it's one of those movies that got put together because it's Clint Eastwood making a movie. And everybody wants to work with Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood can call Lawrence Fishbourne and say, hey, you want to come work with me on this? And Lawrence Fishburne's going to say, of course, Clint. So that's how you get Lawrence Fishbourne in this crappy movie.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bradley Cooper, who has said in interviews, I'll do anything for Clint Eastwood. They love each other.
I guess.
But just think about it, just a couple years ago, he made American Sniper, which was Academy Award stuff, except for the whole fake baby thing that you know what I'm talking about?
Like that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why they had a fake baby in it. It's obvious that it's a fake baby.
It was annoying.
So anyway, that's our brief review of the Mule.
Brief. Well, I guess compared to an hour-long review.
Yeah, it's a brief review of the Mule and Into the Spiderverse, which again we liked Into the Spiderverse. We didn't really care for the Mule.
We wanted to care for the Mule.
I wanted to because I actually really like Clint Eastwood movies. Every time I see a Clint Eastwood movie, I want it to be The Unforgiven. It just ends up not being The Unforgiven.
I hate cowboy movies, but man, The Unforgiven is so good.
It's so good. Anyway, so that's it for this time. We will be bringing you more reviews next week. We are not taking Christmas off. There's a lot of good movies coming out.
I tried hard to get you.
There's a lot of good movies coming out.
But you said no. So.
Maybe we could take a month off in February where there's not a whole lot of movies coming out. Anyway, that's it for this time. Hey, we will see you at the movies.
The end. See you at the movies.
I said that.
We're not going to see one person at the movies.
I've been saying that for 40-something episodes. Now you want to make fun
Now
of it?
I'm ridiculing.
Movieisms is a production of Super Mega Ultra Entertainment and is produced by Michael Beckemeyer and Bradley Kingston. If you'd like to find out more, follow us on Twitter or Instagram. And make sure you click like on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/movieisms. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment and give us a 5-star review in iTunes. It only takes a minute and it helps us out more than you can imagine. Thank you very much, and until next time, we'll see you at the movies.